Peace. What's happening, good people? This is Gift here from Payusnomind, and you're about to hear my interview with Bryce Weiner, a blockchain developer and creator of the TAO / XTO coin. It's called TAO and it's also called XTO, so you can find it as either or on whatever exchange you use. Now, I'll let him explain who he is and what he does, but we had some technical difficulties with the audio, so I'm going to give you guys a quick run through of everything and start the interview from the point where the audio quality picked up. So to explain alt market and the TAO / XTO coin, it basically turns artists into a kind of stock where rather than fans buying an album, they can buy a share of stock in the artist. As the artist becomes more successful, the value of his stock increases, which can be traded on exchanges for other currencies, including US dollars. Now, this conversation I had with Bryce covers a lot of things regarding the music industry and artist value and a whole bunch of stuff, including the blockchain stuff. So make sure you pay attention and just soak it up. Here goes. Bryce.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing had blacked out. Like whatever you were saying for that whole stretch got lost. All of that stuff. Yeah, it was, I didn't hear nothing.
That's all right. I do much better with conversations as opposed to like just opining forever. So ask me a couple questions. What are the things about this technology that interest you the most? What's the potential that you see for it?
I mean, I would just like for things to be a little bit fairer, and just for artists to be able to like basically, provide for themselves better, and kind of break out of this chain of exploitation where it's like you have value, but you're not really able to capitalize off of your value until like you become this super big famous artist, and until that point, basically everybody else is just exploiting you and making money off of you, and the way that it kind of works now is artists are put in this situation where unless they're bringing in like a lot of money or have a lot of like traction in regards of people consuming their content, it's kind of looked at as like you have no value. But you do have value in the sense that something like SoundCloud, like they make money off of all of those smaller, the collective audience of all of the smaller artists, kind of get lumped into like this group of people that they sell ads to and that they try to sell SoundCloud Go to. But then the artists aren't allowed to monetize and all that other stuff, and just the whole system and the way that it's built in regards of ASCAP and the way they function and the way of being able to basically not pay smaller artists who are getting their music played on college radio and things like that, and kind of taking the money from the smaller artists and giving it to the bigger artists. So I would kind of like to see that whole system disrupted, where the smaller artists who are kind of doing a thing can benefit from that rather than just being exploited in the way they are now,
No, that's an excellent point. And like that exploitation goes on even after an artist is dead. Like once you're dead and gone, and this is one of the things we deal a lot with legacy acts right now, because new and emerging artists are very hard to establish that long tail of monetization for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get this worked out with some of these legacy acts that we're working with, for instance, we got Money B and Digital Underground, like just in the mix in the 90s from, it just in it. These are about as OG as you can get in the hip hop scene. And like their brand carries forward for decades. And what we're looking to do is help those artists that are already monetized, like the Digital Undergrounds, and prove this stuff works. And use those legacy artists to give back to the emerging artists through participation in this platform. Because the fans, the people, if you want to call it that, the crowds, the unwashed masses as they are going to come to the platform for the big names. But they're going to stay for the little guys because new music discovery is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about exploitation, if you're an artist and you launch your own branded crypto token, you every time anybody ever tries to exploit you, you cash in. Anytime your brand is out there and raises in profile, and the amount, there's more people, your brand is higher in demand, your token value will go up. We've measured this consistently in the markets. This is a known behavioral fact of cryptocurrency markets. So if you're like a little band and you got a 5 bars, in a small town, and you branch out a bit, and suddenly you're doing a few shows a month in a major metropolitan area, your brand is expanded in demand. If you sign a deal with somebody to do some promotions, or maybe even, God forbid, a tour, every new person that hears about your brand is additional value. And we've created a way to capture that value and have that retain in the control of the artist. It's your brand. You own it. And we even did this even in the major labels, approaching it through the merchandising stream. Because through the merchandising stream, that's one of the things that artists have the most control over. The record label might take a cut over it. Mm-hmm. But, the T-shirts that you sell are yours, basically. And how you monetize yourself is essentially up to you. Of course, the label helps and all, but, that's pretty much on you. And that kind of monetization, all of it, adds value to a brand. Every T-shirt sold gets your brand out there. And now it's not just about selling music. Now it's about getting your brand out there, and the music is the value it has. It's the way to communicate with your audience. So if you look like, the ways that people currently look at monetizing music, like, oh man, I got to get on Spotify, and then I got to get them links out there so people can, so they got something to click on. Because every time they click on that link, that's, cash in my pocket. That's chasing pennies, man.
Yeah, definitely is.
And that's not the way to make money in music. It's just not. You play your music, you sell tickets, you take a cut of the door, you have a merch table. Man, every time I go and see a band and they don't have a merch table, I literally want to like walk up to somebody and slap them. Like, how are you making money? That merchandising is your business.
But you know what, Bryce?
It's not really.
But you know what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's like, it's kind of like mind fuckery, so to speak. I mean, the whole system, and particularly in hip hop, is everybody has kind of been engineered to think that the big payoff is down the line, like to just basically give everything away now and wait to get famous. And then once you get famous, all of the money starts coming in. So a lot of people don't really recognize their value because they're just basically scraping until they become famous, until they see their name all over social media and they see their name on TV and on the radio, because they think that is when they're supposed to get paid. So a lot of artists aren't even thinking about making money now, So it's like, it's just that culture.
In fact, I will tell you straight up right now, I will tell you the secret to landing a major record deal. And this is absolutely valid in 2017. We have actually brought artists up and gotten them signed with major labels. And this is in the last year. So this is not talking out of my ass, or this is not theory or anything like that. This is actually what we do with artists. And part of I don't believe in just blockchain throwing money at people. We're working with Boogie Shack Music Group. Our part, that's Hakeem Draper. He used to be a director of licensing out at Warner, and now he does A&R and artist development. And out of his incubator, I will tell you straight up, the one thing that a record label wants to be able to know is that you have the ability to make money. That's it. And it doesn't matter how you make money. Your music is your business. And the artistry is what brings people in the door and is what opens up their wallets. And when they're ready to open up their wallets, you got to have the stuff there for them to buy. That's when you're an artist and someone buys t-shirts, they're telling you they love you. And if you don't want to hear that people love you, really not be in music. Yeah. Because that's kind of what it's about, Everybody wants that rush of having their artistry appreciated. And every t-shirt sold is somebody saying, I appreciate your music so much, I don't even need to listen to it. I will wear it.
Yeah, I'll support you. I will support you. Yeah, I mean
that's right.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, it's like when I was looking into TAO and just like because I got like the update and the Slack group that you guys have, about the alt market and the initial artist offerings and all of that stuff, And I was like, okay, cool. This is great because it was basically creating a system where artists it becomes like almost like the baseball cards and stuff that everybody used to trade back in the days, the rookie
That's
cards,
right.
where it was like, you buy you buy Jordan's card when he first get in the league, and then he goes on to become Michael Jordan, and now that card is like worth all of this value, So it's like, rather than creating a system where, because a lot of times, artists, unless they have like certain management or certain agents or certain people around them, they might not be able to monetize things that they got going on. Like I know artists like in New Orleans that they got stuff cooking. They not like Beyonce level, but they got stuff cooking out there. But because they don't know agents and stuff like that, they can't really monetize their buzz to a great extent. You know what I'm saying? But they at a point where Spotify calls them and bring them in and is having conversations with them and stuff like that. So it's like people like them who have a following, if they were like to do like have a token, there's a whole bunch of people that they have that would buy in. You know what I'm saying? That would buy in and be able to support them from now. And then once they got bigger and bigger and bigger, those coins would be worth a lot of money. But people buying in now would allow them to have money to be able to make themselves bigger, to invest in themselves, without waiting for some angel to come in and just throw cash at them.
Yeah. And if you think about like, Michael Jackson coin, right? If we ever get so lucky to land a Michael Jackson estate, for instance, that's $1 billion token sale. I mean, that's the king of pop, Who would not want a memorial token to Michael Jackson? That's ridiculous. Not even just like one of them, But with a smaller artist, if we go out, like there are, and here's the real magic of this system. The cryptocurrency traders are now able to speculate on your abilities to succeed as an artist. And we're actually gonna start sending out, because this is kind of like a Patreon kind of setup, except because of the finance involved, we do have to do a little bit of due diligence and make sure that a band is really a band. You're not just raising money for some imaginary thing. Mm-hmm. And we are doing this specifically for music artists at first. And we're going to send folks out. We're going to verify you're a band. You're playing in some dive bar somewhere. And man, if you go and do a crowd platform, you could raise $15,000 in 2 weeks. And $15,000 from people all over the world who are just, they don't even care. And I'm going to be straight with you. They don't care about your music, your artistry. They don't care about none of that. They want to know that you're real, that there's a chance that somebody else will follow you, and that the value of your token will go up someday. Value in it for them. There's value in it for you as the artist. And now, if you don't, and we, at this point, we can't even talk about fans because you're like a little small band. You probably don't even have fans that you're not related to. Mm-hmm. Or like dating or something along those lines, right? Yeah. So, you get that $15,000, that's studio time. That could be new equipment. That could be voice lessons. And if you really, really, really want it, we have what we call the pipeline, where we will help you spend that money exactly in the ways that we know that money should be spent in order to have a career that pops. Because we already have the pipeline. We're already doing it. People ask me, like, what do you do? Because nobody can really tell what my job is.
Yeah.
My job is actually like in the music industry, like working with Hakeem. And we just sit around. I mean, we'll have guys, we'll have them go in the studio and they'll cut 2 or 3 tracks. And then Hakeem will sit there and we'll just sit there and listen to them for like 2 hours. And just like say, well, all right, well, this track kind of sucked, but their voices are good. And man, this dude needs to loosen up. You know, he sounds like a robot. and those kind of feedback sessions. And then Hakeem takes that feedback back to the artist and then helps hone that diamond into something that shines. And it can take maybe like a year, but during that whole year, you are monetizing, you are playing out, you are cutting singles, you have up on Spotify. So while you're building your career, while you're learning your craft, quite frankly, you are at the same time building all of that stuff that a record label wants to see, where you can show them that you are monetizable property and that your artwork is something that's in demand. And man, it's like magic. It's almost to the point now where we can stick just about anybody in one end and at the other end get them a record deal.
Mm.
Like if you got like half an ounce of talent.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, the way I see it, is it's kind of like how people play the stock market, or even the way people are playing the cryptocurrency market now, where they don't really know, what's what and what the technology is, but they just basically hedging their bets. They put money behind everything in the hopes that something pops off. So it's like, all right, well, especially if they got it to spend, they'll just invest in everything. Like, okay, well, I'll put a little bit of money here, put a little bit of money there. And if something take off, then great, but if I lose money, I lose money because they can afford to lose it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of look at it and it's like, yo, what you were saying before about just people not caring whether the music is good or whatever. It's like, because they don't, it's just basically gambling. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And now we put that gambling to work. That the payoff in that gambling is that you actually become an artist. That's the payoff. Like, how does anybody lose in this? And when you talk about compared to the other crypto markets, these are not like vaporware projects. These are actual artists. So you're not investing in some software package that may or may not work someday, or, the network might blow up due to some cat game or something. This is literally like just your stuff.
So let me ask you an important question too, man. How would like TAO and altcoin and all that other stuff, how would it prevent from people imitating other people? Like if like a band like tries to basically get on there and pretend to be another band in order to like, tokenize themselves and make a whole bunch of money off of somebody else's back,
Well, that's actually part of what we do. One of the things that we actually demonstrated, and this is kind of our business secrets really, is our ability to protect brands inside of the cryptocurrency space. This is one of the things that I actually bring to the table, is the knowledge of the markets and how everything operates, as well as the legislation and the regulation behind it, to where we can create tokens that nobody can trade unless we say it's okay that they can trade them. And that's not even technology; it's purely legal. And nobody wants to face off on the attorneys that we've got on this. They're some of the scariest guys in Hollywood. And these are people whose job it is to protect the images and brands of artists. So when you come into our ecosystem, you instantaneously gain that legal protection. Like, we will go out and we will fight for your brand to be yours for you. And it's in our business interest. So we don't even bill you for it. Like, we will just go out and do it and make sure that it gets done.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is...
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just to say, like, anybody who wants to copy. So, for instance, if you're an artist but see, the thing is, you got to be in our ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
We have no, business interest in helping an artist protect their brand that isn't on our platform. So, I mean, let's call it, I'll be
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like, let's say, right? Let's say, like my artist, right? Or me rather, I go by the name Gift when I'm doing music. So it's like, let's say, I find out about TAO and Oak Market, and I'm like, all right, cool. I want to get into the ecosystem. I want to be a part of that. And I go to join, and it's already somebody in the ecosystem operating as me. That's not me. What's the measure of recourse
that could not
artists
happen.
have?
There's no way that could happen.
Oh,
because
okay.
of the way, and this was like I was saying about before about like kind of the talent scouting thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our compliance. That's part of our business model. Is you have to prove that you are a real person, because like you can't just come up and say, "Oh, hey, I'm Taylor Swift. I want to do Taylor Swift coin," and then one day Taylor Swift comes along and goes, WTF? Like that, it's going to go. You got to prove you are that artist, and you got to prove that you have the right to that brand, and that the images to that brand, or we can't even use them. I mean, we'll straight up to, and we've had some folks. For instance, there's some folks. One of the hardest things in music right now is there are all of these for like the last 40 years, all of the music that everybody loved and like their grandparents and their parents grew up with and stuff. All of the artists are dead or dying, and the music is now up for grabs in the estate. And the first thing that everybody does is try and get as much percentage of those rights as possible. So the first thing when an artist dies is all of their rights go, and all of it just kind of spreads to the wind. Like this is some of the thing with Prince.
Yeah.
And with what we're hoping to do is help these estates, and there's a lot of them. I mean, pretty much any artist that you've ever loved growing up that is now passed on, their musical catalog is now under heavy dispute. And that's why you don't hear a lot of that music anymore, because the monetization for it is totally broken. And we're hoping that we can insert ourselves into those discussions in a way where we can return revenue from that brand and sort of like ease the contention between the different sides in those estates, because now there's not everybody's fighting for the pennies, and if we put more pennies on the table, there's less reason to fight. And that's kind of the way we're looking at it. So there's a sort of a very gentle approach to this, and we're hoping to bring back a lot of stuff that folks ain't heard in like 10, 20 years. Like just simply because the estates have had it all, just crushed.
Yeah, I mean,
but to address your point, like you can't pretend to be Michael Jackson. You can't pretend to be you. You can't pretend to be this artist, because you have to legally give right to you have to. It's called an assignment. You have to be able to legally assign us the right to use your image. And if you don't have that right, we ain't gonna mess with you. All right.
Yeah, here we go. So before we were so rudely interrupted by basically not so good working networks. Yeah, man. We're just basically, man, artists need a new system set in place that allows them to profit from themselves and do a lot more. And rather than just being exploited and having the money go to, bigger artists. Because another thing, a lot of times, like on Payusnomind, I try to explain basically how these monetization systems work on these different platforms, and how they're being used. For the most part, kind of like on Spotify, their payment system is set up where they pay a percentage of royalties based on an artist's percentage of the total number of streams. So I was like, based on that system, it's a system where it's like you have a pie and it's 8 pieces to the pie. If you have 4 pieces, or you have 8 people and 8 slices, everybody gets a slice. If you have 16 people, then everybody get half a slice. And the more people, the more pieces that pie gets sliced into, and the less everybody gets, unless you find ways to eliminate people. You know what I'm saying? And then you can give, or whoever you feel like is most important, you can give them a bigger slice of the pie. So that, to me, is reasons why they do things like, they find ways to eliminate people. I mean, SoundCloud is the worst violators in regards of just not allowing certain artists to monetize, period, and using those artists to kind of like subsidize them paying the bigger artists. But it's like you need a system where, you know, if you are getting people, if you got fans, you can make money from your fans, as opposed to allowing some platform to make money off of your fans and pay other artists that help them make even more money, you know?
Well, and if artists, let's think of it this way, you know, if artists had money to pay lawyers, Spotify would not be doing that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, straight up. If you had $1,000 to hire an attorney to write a cease and desist letter to Spotify because their payment system is broken and I mean, could you imagine the thousands of letters they would get? Like, that's the, you know, we don't know how to solve the problems of the music industry. So what we figured out we could do is, why don't we just bring enough money into and put it into artists' hands and let artists figure out how to solve the music industry? Because everybody else in the entire ecosystem has had their money, you know, had their hands in the pot for long enough, and did everything, you know, supposedly to help an artist's career, when really they were just helping themselves. Well, now let's put the power back into artists' hands, and artists can decide how the money is spent inside the music industry. Maybe they want to give their music away for free forever. Maybe they have such, like, you know, Little Peep, that artist Little Peep, man, before he died, could you imagine, like, what his career would have been? Like, he could have been I mean, that dude was amazing. And his fans were rabid, and they would travel around the Southwest to find him and you know, do his shows and stuff. Like, you cannot even, I would not even be able to begin to imagine what somebody like Pete would have been able to raise on a platform we're building. Like it could have been millions of dollars, and you could fundraise an entire tour and give the tickets away for free to everybody who sends you money, and still sell tickets.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, I look at it, and the tokenization thing is kind of like steps away from, because even though it's not solving all of the industry's problems, it's solving the problems, and basically without even knowing it, because the main problems are, you know, record company control over everything, and being able to just basically wield a stick of licensing over everybody. So anything that pops up, you know, they can come, and it's kind of like ASCAP, so to speak. Like, a bar pops up and they are playing local musicians' music. It's like, I believe, a bar in Portland. You know, they was playing local musicians, but ASCAP come and they say, hey, you're playing music, you got to pay us for the right to play music. And they say, but we're not playing any music from any artists in your catalog. And they say, okay, well, if we have somebody come in here and sit in here every day for a month, you mean to tell me we're not going to hear no music from my catalog? You know, and then that band bar ends up having to pay ASCAP like a couple thousand a month. Then BMI comes, then CSAT comes, you know, and next thing you know, that bar stops playing music. And not only do they stop playing music, they stop having live acts and everything. They totally shut down the whole thing, you know. So it's like, to me, that's kind of like what the record companies do to streaming platforms and all this other stuff. They come and they say, hey, well, we have the major catalogs. Our artists, if you want our artist music, or if people are uploading our artist music, you got to give us the lion's share of the profits. You got to set up the system so we make sure that our artists get all of the featured placement and all of that other stuff, and we make most of the money. And that's kind of where the system is like ruined at. But if you have the tokenization system with altcoins and things like that, I'm not altcoins, but alt market and TAO and stuff like that, then it's just the artist and his fans, and the fans supporting you. And it's not really about like any song and how the song is licensed and all of that other stuff. It's just you doing your thing and people saying, hey, I'm investing in you doing your thing. And then nobody can really come, like a record company couldn't come to you guys and be like, yo, listen, you got to make sure that y'all focus on promoting our artists, because if you don't, we're going to drag you in court and sue the shit out of you for our music existing on your platform, because there's no music that exists on the platform. It's not about the music.
That's right.
So I appreciate, that's like one of the best things about it. So it's like, and kind of alleviating them and stepping away from that, it kind of solves the most biggest problem. You know what I'm saying? It solves that most biggest problem.
by not trying to tackle it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we just avoided it completely. And instead we're like, well, let's just look at what cryptocurrency does. And, I love all these blockchain applications. I think they're all amazing. Some of these guys that create this stuff are just absolute wizards, But at the end of the day, if it isn't going to make your life better, if it's not going to improve your art, if it's not going to improve your career, if it's sort of kind of someday maybe going to fix the music industry, that's great. But it's got such an uphill climb. Like, the only thing that blockchain technology has ever sufficiently done is move money from one point to another. And that's why we came at this the way we did. Like, that's it. I mean, blockchains create money. They add value to anything that companies on the stock exchange can change their name to add the word blockchain, and the stock will go up by 25%.
Wow.
Like, that's how ridiculous markets are right now about this technology. And they always have been. Always. And there's no reason to think on the horizon that it's going to stop. That's why we're going to get into this now. And open this up in 2018 and really start to show like your grandma. And I love going around and asking people if they've never heard of have you heard of Bitcoin? And the answer, 8 times out of 10 is still no. Which means there's this whole market out there of individuals that we can tap into through the music and bring this technology and all of those benefits that everybody touts. And we can put it in their homes in a really easy, simple manner.
Yeah, man. I know I see the craze, with the cryptocurrency thing. And I say the only thing that kind of bothers me about it and makes me nervous a little bit is just the fact of, people are investing in it because of, like, basically hype. You know what I'm saying? People see everybody else spending money on it, and they see the price go up, and then more people come and invest in it because they saw the price go up, and they put their money in, and then the price goes up even more, and then more people see the price went up, and then they go and put more money in it. And I just feel like, especially with Bitcoin, like, at some point, people are going to want to cash out. They're going to be like, okay, it's at 20,000 or it's at 30,000. Let me start pulling my money out now, and I just don't know, where that's going, because I know, the technology and all of these cryptocurrencies have technology, and they are there to serve a purpose, So it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. If people pull out.
Wait, what? Imagine now that you're an artist and you launch your coin on our platform and you raise $15,000 and you go and you do your thing. And then one day, maybe like a year and a half after you raise that money, HBO calls you up and says they want to use one of your songs as the theme song for one of their new series. And they want to do sync licensing deal and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the value of your coin when that show airs and 1 million people watch it and they all go, man, what the hell is that theme song? I have never heard that before. Let me go Google that. You know how many artists have made careers out of that?
I know.
In the last 10, 20 years?
Aloe Black. With
there it is.
I need $1.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean so imagine now you're this artist and you're sweating and you finally get this sync licensing deal and you think your career is set now finally, right? And then you suddenly remember that you launched a token on alt market and you go and look at the price. And suddenly you have $1 million in your pocket you didn't even realize you had. And it's nothing more than monetizing on the fame and recognition that your art creates. And it's just a measure of how much you're in demand as an artist.
So let me ask you,
amazing stuff.
Where does this thing, where does it exist now? Like, is it a website or is it like, where is it? Like, I know you say, y'all not, like, it's not open to everybody just yet. But is there a place that artists can go to, like, get a look at it and see, like, oh, nope, this is what might be coming?
Nah, we got this in the lab right now. And we're looking to roll this out into the public in the first part of next year. with the holidays coming and stuff, nobody's really going to be paying attention to it.
No.
So we're going to kind of sit on it for a few months. We're going to be doing some fundraising. We actually, the cryptocurrency space itself is insane. And one of the things about alt market and the platform we're building to do this is it's 100% regulatory compliant to U.S. law. So there are no shady characters. There are no shady tokens. That kind of Wild West that is the cryptocurrency markets. We're going to gentrify it a little bit, and we're going to make it safe for people to come in and put their money into these networks, including the artist networks. And that really, that's all it's taken time, to be honest with you. We've got to go through we are in the middle of the process right now of the SEC filings, and it's just like homework. It's just piles of paperwork, but we're slogging through it, We're hoping to have all of our filings done by the first or second week of January, and that's when people are really going to start to take notice, because it's very, very rare that a cryptocurrency company, much less a music company, much less a cryptocurrency music company, makes an SEC filing and makes that filing public. So it's going to be a huge, you're going to be hearing about this a lot in the next 90 days.
So when an artist joins, right, when it gets out there and an artist first joins up, what establishes the initial value of his token? Does he set his own price? Is there just a price set by like the mechanisms of the algorithm, or how does the initial price get set?
We're kind of looking at that a little bit. We understand this is kind of a new concept for folks, and they may not have participated in something like this ever in their entire life. So we're kind of keeping it open. Now we're kind of looking at it in the sense that, let's say that you're an artist and you want to have, your network wants to have 100 billion coins on it. And we offer that, so people just start throwing money in. And it's called a proportional crowd sale, which means the amount of coins you walk away with is directly proportional to the amount of money you put in. So if you put in 1% of the total money raised, you're going to get 1% of the total tokens issued. That's kind of the fun way to do it, because if you do it that way, you can raise millions of dollars almost by accident. And I really like that. It's a little bit hard for most folks to grasp because they just used to here's $1, give me something.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of sale offering creates this unique opportunity for like a breakout artist, for like somebody who just caught on in the crowd sale and ended up raising $1 million and essentially locked in their career. So that kind of thing sounds really exciting, and I think that educating folks on how these crowd sales work for that kind of payoff is worth the investment in time. So we're kind of looking at, while we're building the system, we're kind of looking at the different ways that we can sort of play with it a little bit to make this attractive and still allow for this humongous wow factor kind of explosion. So, you put some money into one of these coins, you get the coins when the crowd sale ends, and then the market price is established. So it's either established, through one of these proportional crowd sales or at a fixed price, and then trading begins. And then the market is basically suspended on that trading price. And it's, if you've never been involved in a cryptocurrency launch before, it's always exciting the first time it hits the markets and you see what it does, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. And I there's going to be so much good stuff that comes out of this that I'm almost hesitant to kind of explore what happens from that point forward, because it's just magic. It's just absolute magic.
It's revolutionary, man. Like, I've come across some things, that I tell my wife, I'm like, man, this looks like they're kind of like doing what altcoin is doing. Then I look at it, and then when I go through the site, I'm like, no, they're not. Because it's like, basically what I see in the crypto space, like a lot of these different platforms that's aiming at solving the music industry problems and stuff like that, they kind of don't get it in the sense that, music, first off, they don't provide any value to the music fans. You know, it's no value for the fans. It's all for the artists saying, okay, well, we're going to protect your rights. We're going to make sure you get paid, you know, and it's like, well, at the end of the day, if you're not building on top of what people already use and you're trying to force them to use a new platform, then that platform got to provide value. And if the platform doesn't provide value, then you're not going to pull people away from Spotify or iTunes. So even though it's good in theory, you know, in practice, it's harder to pull off, to get people to come to a site and say, okay, cool. Well, if you come here and you download your music from here and you stream your music from here at whatever price the artist sets, you know, then if, that artist gains value, you know, then his token on our platform, you know, gains value and you could trade his token on our platform. And that to me is like, doesn't work. When I was
and here's the one thing that all these platforms miss is like the one thing that SoundCloud achieved is I can listen to your tunes and then I can build playlists from other people that sound like you. But if I'm your fan and I go to SoundCloud, you know, there's this other wide range of selection of music that I have that sounds like you. But if I go on one of these blockchain platforms because I want to listen to you, well, how many times am I going to go back there if there's nothing else for me to listen to? Like, I appreciate you as an artist, and I'm your fan, and I'm trying to support you. But if the only place I can find your music is on this one app, and the only reason I have that app is to listen to you, how often am I really going to listen to it? Mm-hmm. Probably not that much.
Yep. Yeah, man. So that's what I appreciated about altcoin when I was looking at it. Say, okay, well, they're basically just taking the value, like the coins are kind of like determined by the value of what the artist got going on elsewhere. So it's like if your Spotify streams spike, if your SoundCloud, YouTube, you know, your touring, all of those different things, if those things spike, then your value of your coin or your token rather spikes, you know. So it's not really trying to pull anybody away from whatever they want to adopt. It's just kind of like monetizing what they're already doing and what's already going on, you know. So
right, and it's important to point out, you know, the price doesn't go up just because Pandora or just because Spotify goes up, but there's a relationship that exists, a real causal relationship that exists between the amount of streams that are played and the number of people who would be interested in buying your token. So as the amount of your streams go up, as your monetization in those traditional areas go up, the interest in your brand goes up, which is going to attract people to your token, which in turn will make that go up. Now, I know that sounds really complex, but man, that happens like 50,000 times a day in a fraction of a second in millions of people's minds. And we're kind of distilling that into this one platform. So it almost kind of goes with that train of thought. When you explain it, it's a hell of a lot more complicated than how it actually works.
I mean, it don't sound too complicated, but I mean, at the end of the day, with all of this stuff, like these equations, like when you combine all of this stuff, is it going to be like fused into almost like a ranking of an artist? Like, you know how we got these NBA games like NBA 2K, they rate an artist they rate a player a 70 or an 80 or something like that. So would it be like a system where artists have like ratings in regards of potential for I guess breakout, where you say, okay, well, based on all of the data that we're pulling in, this guy has a 40% chance of success, or this guy has a 20% chance, or something like that.
We're in the process of constructing we kind of released this in our white paper about a month or two ago, but we kind of call it the fame rating, because investors, traders want to be able to gauge the amount of value a random artist has. So we're going to provide some metrics for that to kind of measure the business potential of an artist. And, you know, above your social media, above your streams, we're actually also going to be including the number of times you're mentioned in the news and the number of times that you appear in places outside of normal routes of monetization, because your fans want to hear about you. They want to know what you're doing. You know, like when, Eminem did not make a damn dime on that diss he did of Donald Trump, but not directly, you know, because now suddenly after doing that, That dude made the for an entire day. His name was on the lips of every single, politically conscious American for an entire day. And that kind of power, there is money in that. And that's what we're tapping into. Like if you're an Eminem supporter and you love what he heard, you heard what you love what you heard from his mouth, you're going to go out and buy his token and support him. Because that money is going to go towards putting that career, towards his career. Man, that kind of back and forth. And likewise, if people heard something they didn't hear, they'd dump that to the floor.
Yeah, pull out.
So it's real time monetary feedback. It's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said, man. It's revolutionary, man. It's something that's going to change, be a game changer, man. And it's something that I'm kind of like I'm real anxious to see take off, man. Because like I said, man, the current situation
you and me both
is real crazy.
No, you and me both, man. Well, listen, I got to mosey on. Thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother, man.
Let me know if there's anything else I can do for you, because you're one of those folks on. I ran into you on Twitter, and you're one of those folks that when they comment on the state of the music industry, that's real shit. Like when the things you say about the state of the music industry is literally the state of things out here in LA. and that kind of insight, man, that's gold. What you're doing is excellent. Keep it up.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. And you just keep dropping knowledge on Bitcoin and the crypto space on Twitter. I watch you. I know you got a lot of haters out there, man, but I love it, man.
If you don't have haters, you ain't doing shit.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way it goes, man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. You have a good one, bro.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.